Welcome to the Lenny and Maria Sanchez audio and video podcast series. Today, we're going to talk about the automobile, but not just as, a machine of metal and rubber. We're going to look at it as a massive cultural force, an engine that didn't just move us from place to place, but completely reshaped modern society itself.
This quote, it just captures a core piece of the American spirit perfectly, doesn't it? See, it was never simply about getting from point A to point B. It was about the freedom to do it on your own time, on your own terms. And that one powerful idea would go on to reshape the entire nation.
I mean, think about it. Before the car, how did people get around? Well, a lot of transportation was communal. You had the train, right? It ran on a fixed schedule, on a fixed track. You had to play by its rules. But the car was personal. It gave an individual total mastery over their own time and their own space. You wanted to leave at 10 a.m.? You could. 10:15? Also fine. For the first time, you were the one in control.
And this newfound personal freedom just blossomed into an entire culture. The mid-20th century, that was the golden age of driving. You had people taking Sunday drives with absolutely no destination in mind, just for the joy of it. You had drive-in theaters that turned your car into your own private movie screening room. And of course, drive-through restaurants that catered to this new life in constant motion. And your car? Well, it was a statement. Whether you drove a sensible Buick or a flashy Cadillac with those huge fins, you were telling the world something about who you were.
So, this powerful personal dream, it didn't stay personal for very long. It scaled up big time. And in the process, it completely remade the physical landscape of the entire country.
Right after World War II, you had this kind of perfect storm of factors all hitting at once. The GI Bill gave veterans access to really cheap home loans. You had a massive housing shortage at the exact same time the population was flush with cash from wartime savings. Then, the baby boom created millions of new families, all needing places to live. And the final, crucial piece, the 1956 Interstate Highway Act. It laid down the arteries, the freeways that made it all possible, connecting cities to these vast new tracts of land. And just like that, the suburb was born. But in building this new world, we created a really stark difference in how we actually live our day-to-day lives. In a classic walkable community, life just happens on foot. You bump into your neighbors, you have what they call third places, like cafes and parks where people can gather, and kids have a lot more independence. But in a car-dependent suburb, everything is separated. Homes are like islands. Sidewalks can be totally non-existent, and every single errand, from getting groceries to going to school, requires getting in a car. And those small, spontaneous social interactions, what sociologists call weak ties, they just start to vanish.
And this quote right here, it's the crucial takeaway. As we all spread out, the very fabric of community started to get thinner. Those older institutions where people used to gather, churches, clubs, local taverns, they began to fade away. The family unit, now kind of isolated in its brand new home, it turned inward.
And this brings us to a really huge irony in this whole story. The car, the ultimate symbol of individual freedom, actually created new kinds of dependency. The father who bought that dream house in the suburbs, well, now he was trapped in a long, soul-crushing commute. The mother was now completely dependent on the station wagon to run every single errand of modern life. The promise of freedom, of mobility, had, for so many, become the obligation to drive.
Okay, so that's the world that the car built. But what are the hidden costs of living in it? This is where the story gets really, really complex, connecting our daily drive to our mental health, and believe it or not, even to global military strategy.
Because, while the sticker price of a car is obvious, the other tolls it takes on us are often totally invisible.
And when you look at the data, it's pretty startling. One study actually found a clear tipping point. While having a car can make you happier, having to drive too much actually sends your happiness plummeting. We see 13% higher rates of social isolation and a staggering 47% higher rate of depression in these car-dependent suburbs compared to more walkable areas. That daily grind of traffic, it isn't just annoying, it's a major source of stress and anxiety.
Which brings us to another really strange paradox, and this one is about safety. Americans have been buying bigger and bigger vehicles. Trucks and SUVs pretty much dominate the market now. And while these bigger cars have made things safer for the person inside the vehicle, they made the roads far more dangerous for everyone else. Pedestrian deaths have gone up significantly as our cars have gotten bigger.
And our mental state, it has a huge impact on safety. Research shows that drivers who are feeling strong agitation, anger, anxiety, they're nearly 10 times more likely to get in a crash. 9.8 times. Just think about that for a second. So we have the daily stress of congestion. That's pretty obvious. But the ripple effects of our driving habits go way beyond our own freeways. They actually reach across the entire globe and have been shaping international policy for decades.
Okay, let's connect the dots here. After World War II, American cultural and economic influence basically helped export car culture to Europe. This created a huge new demand for oil, which made Europe incredibly dependent on the Persian Gulf. So, to make sure that oil kept flowing for its allies, the U.S. created CENTCOM back in 1983, a permanent military command right in the Middle East. It's crazy, but the drive to work in Paris is directly linked to American foreign policy.
So, the crucial point here is that the price we pay at the pump is nowhere near the true cost of driving, not even close. Society as a whole ends up paying for all these external costs. From the time we lose sitting in traffic and the health problems from air and noise pollution, all the way to the immense costs of accidents and climate change.
This all paints a pretty complicated picture. The car gave us this incredible dream of freedom, but that dream came with some serious consequences that we're only now really beginning to understand. So, the big question is, where do we go from here?
Well, the good news is the story isn't over. Change is already starting to happen. We're seeing suburbs trying to retrofit their sprawling layouts to create walkable town centers. More families are starting to reevaluate that whole post-war dream and are choosing to live in denser, more connected communities, challenging the idea that a big yard is the only way to raise a family.
And that leaves us with a final, really powerful question to chew on. The car was sold to us as the ultimate tool of personal freedom. But maybe we've had it backward this whole time. What if the real measure of freedom isn't the ability to drive anywhere you want, but the ability to live a full and happy life without having to drive at all? Thank you for listening to another session of the Lenny and Maria Sanchez audio and video podcast series, produced and archived at the website dailybriefs.info.